Welcome to the 2021 Wilmington Spring Workshop.
All right, so I'll just, I guess, kick off the spring workshop with some updates to our surf program that's been going on. So let's just jump right into it. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so brief recap for 2020. There were 7 surf deaths in North Carolina and 8 in South Carolina. I think this is the first time since I've been here that there's more deaths in South Carolina than North Carolina. Historically, it's the other way around. And in
You
our
guys hear me
area, there
now?
were. Oh, I hear you, Mark.
Oh, thank goodness.
I barely started. If we want to go back to the welcome remarks, or
I mean, keep rolling, Vic.
okay, then we'll just backtrack. But glad we got that sorted. Um, and so okay, so real quick, in our area there were 5 rip current deaths, including 3 over the June 19th and 20th period, where I did that case study on. I just wanted to share quickly this map that I created yesterday that I thought was pretty interesting. That shows the hometowns for all the known rip current fatalities in Carolinas since 2000, and you can see just a wide spread of where these people come from when they come to our beaches, and all across North Carolina, Ohio, the entire Mid-Atlantic, and it definitely shows that far inland reaching impacts that we keep trying to get through everybody, and so this map really hits home with how far we need to spread the message, and not just on our beaches. Just brief recap of 2020 reports. We did have another record year. Granted, if we took away Curie Beach, we actually would have less reports due to the late start due to COVID. But regardless, we're still getting a lot of reports from our lifeguards, and we're doing really great in that regards, which is helping the rip current model, our in-house forecasting. All around, we're doing fantastic these last few years. So, this is really great. Look forward to keeping it going and, having this Curie Beach numbers increase. Some surf height stats for 2020. We did have about a 0.75 foot mean error at all our beaches, which is higher than in the last 5 years. Average surf height still around 2 feet for all the beaches, with that slight high bias showing up again at Sunset Beach. And overall, we're doing good, but Matt has tweaked a bit the calc surf height tool to take in these biases we had last year. So we'll keep an eye on that this season, see if we can improve these numbers. Get back down to our ranges we've had a few years ago. As for rip currents, these are some of the reports we got from last year. We got about half moderate or strong rips at Riceville and Carolina Beach, with quite a bit of Curie. But as you can notice, for the Sunset and Myrtles, there's still below average rip currents reported there. And so this contributed yet again to another high false alarm year for the southeast facing beaches down near Sunset and the Myrtles. For Riceville, Carolina Curie, we had great numbers, high POD, low FAR, but it's this high false alarm rate at the Myrtles we're still working on. And hopefully new products from the MDL will help, which I'll show later. But this is definitely something to keep an eye on, because that false alarm rate was even higher than last year, which again was higher than all previous years. Disregard this 2019, that should read 2020. Just didn't update it. So for just recap for the 2021, I am happy to announce we are adding Oak Island as a beach partner for this year. So they'll be added to our list of lifeguards for each day. I am working on a new beach log to accommodate them. I will likely add all the phone numbers and contact info on a separate sheet that will be kept on the clipboard, and then just have each day logging the OBS. But having Oak Island, which is a volunteer water rescue that was actually recommended by a Twitter user, They're excited to help, and it will give us very much needed OBS for the eastern part of Brunswick County, which we do not have, and it'll be great to see, what info we can get from that area. And then just recap of the, daily duties for the F shift, and then the miscellaneous duties on the M and P shifts in the afternoon. So nothing's changed for those since last season. Also happy to announce that our experimental surf matrix is kind of live. It's not public yet. We're waiting on final approval from the Eastern Region headquarters. Hopefully we'll get that by Memorial Day weekend. But the website is available to view the matrices, and it is available to give to our core partners, like our beach partners and EMs. The matrix will go automatically as soon as you issue the surf, so no extra part needed from ops. It's, all run automatically. And this is a huge thanks to Matt, Mark, and Steve for helping getting this going, and really excited to see where this goes, because this is, huge in getting us additional temporal and spatial resolution to our surf, rather than just one forecast per county per day. We're continuing to evolve this. What you see is probably not what's going to be there next year, but it's an amazing start, and very excited to see where this goes. But again, that website's available for anyone to check out now or during the surf year. But hoping to post this publicly on our headlines as soon as we get the go ahead. And so, sure you heard, but I think early February, the RIP probabilities are now operational for ILM with the latest NWPS. So they are available in GFE and D2D, as well as on the operational NWPS website. So under the surf group, you can see RIP probs for ILM and the Moorhead area, which is what we were using last year. Based on 2019 verifications, looks like 55% is like a rough estimate for moderate risk of RIP currents and 80 for high. Hoping to refine this using 2020 numbers. And just know the model does overpredict RIP currents for Ori and Sunset Beach. But again, we'll see how that goes of 2021 now that we have, it's operational and they're tweaking it. But again, this is a great tool to have in your back pocket, but it's just one tool to use. It's a great tool, but it's just one. And this website's still available on our Google sites that shows time series for each main beach in our area. Again, this is most useful, I believe, for trends, especially when you're looking at the outlook portion of the surf. Looking at this for a few days in advance to see if the risk is decreasing or increasing it's been pretty good for trends. So I definitely turn to this when putting together my outlook. Again, one tool to use with others, but having these time series here is great visualization along with the GFE. So one of the things I was talking about earlier with MDL to help improve our Myrtles forecast is Sun at MDL has developed a moss forecast from the RIP current model to help us particularly for our southern beaches. So she used our observations from the last couple of years combined with the RIP current model to kind of create, a moss product to try to improve the forecasting. So it will be available beginning May 1st through November 1st. That's just their season. And so I'll have a separate page on Google Sites on how to view the moss data, because this is the link, but it's kind of, the data's raw on there. So I'll include some instructions on like what you're looking at, but hopefully it'll be another resource to use that, could give us an edge for the Ori's, Myrtles, and Sunset Beach. Something else this year, thanks to Terry, is we'll likely be issuing DSS briefings for beach hazards. Working with Terry and getting feedback from our partners on, which criteria to use to issue these briefings, but it's going to be meant to highlight dangerous conditions, to try to increase awareness for partners and public. One good example of this would be, this Hurricane Lorenzo would have been a great chance to use DSS briefings to try to bring increased awareness to a threat that most people might have been overlooking. And so we're just trying to, increase the spotlight on some of these hazards that unfortunately get overshined sometimes. And again, we'll target where we send these briefings. It probably won't be to our, threat 1 and 2 list, because not everyone on there will probably be interested, but it's a work in progress. Hopefully we'll have some more information in the next coming months, but Terry's the focal point, but I wanted to share that with you guys. Just wanted to add a couple slides on some work I was doing with Mark and Steve. This kind of stemmed from my AMS presentation on Lorenzo, but I've been looking more into just overall tropical cyclones and surf fatalities since 2000. And there's been 140 surf fatalities in CONUS from Atlantic tropical cyclones. And 50% of these were out-of-state tourists. And so this, again, it's a big thing. No surprise, Florida had the biggest numbers. Granted, they also have the most coastline. I was kind of surprised that New Jersey was second most in surf fatalities, with North Carolina a close third. And one of the biggest things for me was 32% of the fatalities occurred where there was no local impacts besides for rough surf and marine, but the storm might have made landfall elsewhere in the United States, or maybe a few days earlier or something. But 26% were from storms that had no U.S. impacts whatsoever besides for rough surf, which a good example was Lorenzo. Hundreds of thousands of miles away, and people probably just have a full sense of security. So there's increased messaging challenges with these storms, but hopefully we can get better at it, because as you know, Lorenzo led to 8 fatalities, and that's something we want to, not let happen again. And so this is just a quick look at, the surf fatalities since 2000, based on whether it was distant or non-distant. No surprise, 2020, had record storms, and so there was unfortunately a lot of fatalities. But 2019, you had the 8 from Lorenzo and 2 from Umberto, so just 2 storms, 10 fatalities. It was a bad year, but again, it's something that I'm still working on more details on. We're hoping to see where we can go with this, but I mostly also wanted to bring this up for, again, when we have distant tropical cyclones that are impacting our surf, we want to increase messaging, whether that's DSS briefings, our weekly briefings, social media, anything like that. Anything we could do to increase awareness and do our part would, hopefully go a long way. So to close this out, we are still planning on doing one-on-one training in the next coming month. 2021 beach season likely to be in either April 2nd or 9th. I'm leaning more towards the 9th, but coordinate with the Marine team, and we'll get that sorted next couple weeks, because Moorhead starts April 15th, so gonna have to start before then. And so with Mark's help, we'll conduct one-on-one training with everyone, just to, give a refresher to those who might need it, go over some tools, answer any questions, things like that. Because unfortunately, I was planning on doing that last year, and then COVID happened, and so want to do it right this year. And as always, our Google site has, detailed step-by-step on how to do the surf forecast process. So that's always available to you whenever you have questions. And upcoming meetings, if anyone wants to join, we do have our local ILM Beach Partner meeting on Thursday, April 1st via Google Meets. Again, open to anyone who wants to just tune in. And then we have Big Carolina's Beach Hazard Virtual Workshop, Tuesday, April 13th and Wednesday, April 14th. We're working with Moorhead and Charleston to host this. If anyone attended last year's, there's great discussion, and it was just a great workshop. So I'm happy to get this going again this year. And some awesome guest speakers we got. We have Dr. Rob Brander, aka Dr. Rip from Australia. He'll be presenting Chris Brewster from USLA is presenting, and we also got Greg Dusek presenting on his rip prop model. So again, great speakers. There'll be great discussion. So if you're free to join, more the merrier. But looking forward to it. And last but not least, here's just some training modules. If you ever want to know more about rip currents, you got the extra updated 2020 modules from MedEd. And then there's also a new CLC course that was introduced, I think, last month, that goes into more details about the probabilistic rip current forecast model. So there's some great information on there. They're not that long either, so if anyone wants to take a peek, the links are available here. And again, this presentation will be available. So, and then with that, I'll take any questions.
Vicky, this is Reed. First of all, any workshop that has a guy speaking named Dr. Rip's got to be a good workshop. Question on those probabilities you gave, like 50% or 55% for moderate and 80 for high.
Yeah.
And that's just overall. Have you ever thought about? Are you thinking about calibrating it so we may have different values for the Ori Brunswick beaches?
I'm hoping to once I do because the 2019 verifications, the numbers were all over the place. It was kind of hard to get a threshold. So once I'm still working on the 2020 verification. So hopefully once I do that, they're definitely going to be different numbers for now, but I'm hoping to have something going for the Ori Brunswick. But as of now, it was impossible to nail down. But if I get numbers, I'll definitely share it with everyone.
Okay, thanks. The one other thing is that graphic you showed where the location where everybody who had passed away across the country. That is a great map, and that really shows your brings home that point about it's not just people who live on the coast.
Yeah, Google Sheets does this very, very easily, so it kind of came out of nowhere yesterday, and it's eye-opening, but it's a great graphic.
Any other questions for Vicky?
No, and in terms of your good point, Reed, about using different thresholds at each beach, we could easily come up with some kind of recommender, threat grid, or something showing the values at each beach and how that can factor into what you select when you run the SURF procedure. So we'll figure it out.
Hope so. Hopefully we can narrow those numbers down. Anything else?
Hey, Vicky, this is Mark. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, great presentation, and I agree with Reed. This map is incredibly powerful. Great work on it. I did want to comment a little bit on the bias correction of the calc surf height. We got to remember that the reports have bias too that we're using to bias correct. So just quality control is so critical of getting any forecast out the door, but especially something that, surf height where there's so much subjectivity behind it, especially with, the observations that we're using to calibrate things. So we do want to be really careful with that. And, Vicky had mentioned the one-on-one training. We'll go over some other sources of guidance for surf heights. There's all kinds of guidance out there for surf heights now, and and we'll go over some of that stuff. We'll give you access to some of the popular websites out there that have hourly surf heights and things like that. Then the last thing I wanted to mention is I just want to give a plug to just a reminder that surf heights of 2.5 feet and greater typically correlate to a moderate risk, and surf heights of 3.5 feet or greater typically correlate with a high risk. So there's some correlation there that Vicky's done that work. So just things to remember as you go to making a forecast is if you've got surf heights of certain levels, but you're not getting the rip risk you think, just to think twice about it, because there definitely is some correlation to surf heights and rip rescues and things like that. And I've mentioned this to several of you before, but the 7 to 8 second stuff, 3 to 4 feet, historically in our legacy calculators have underestimated the rip risk for these shallow bathymetry beaches. And you might get a lower risk, but you're going to have issues on those days. And just remember that surf heights can correlate to rip currents. But that's my spiel. But great work, Vicky. This was an amazing presentation.